We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. Gay frogs and such, everybody. You know the thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know the thing.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
It's a reason. And it's a real reason. Betterwater.com.
It's a pretty good reason.
This is the only reason you need. It's the only reason you need. Water's gross. Clean it up.
Gross.
It's gross. We got a lot to get to today. My friend Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, is going to be in studio at 11. He was gallivanting around the country doing something important, so he wasn't here on Tuesday for Tifo Tuesdays, but he's going to be joining us today at 11 o'clock. Looking forward to that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We'll talk about this crazy new poll that has Democrats taking a massive lead in the midterms and how we get back. We'll talk about the Epstein files as well. I did some more digging last night on Stacey Plaskett and came across an interesting article from Lee Fang, which I just have to bring to the table because when you start digging into Stacey Plaskett, the Democrat rep from the U.S. Virgin Islands, it really is beginning to look like Epstein bought and paid for a member of Congress. Just throwing that out there. Donald Trump, though, he's very excited. He put out a big statement on the Epstein files on Truth Social. We got it for you here. Also, he's not going to be at Dick Cheney's funeral today. Did you know that? People say that he wasn't invited. Okay.
He's probably okay with that.
Who wouldn't be okay with that? Like, I feel like if he got invited, he'd be more like, man, now I probably have to go to this thing. Mm-hmm. You know, you ever get invited to one of those things, you're like, I don't know. Do I have to go? I probably should.
Yeah.
That's probably what he would have done, but he wasn't invited, so.
Joe Biden's going to be there.
Physically.
He's not speaking, right.
He'll be there physically.
Yeah.
Mentally, he'll be at Rehoboth Beach, I think, sleeping on a chair.
Yeah, it's easy to drag a puppet around, though.
Mason Fleming, ladies and gentlemen. He's producing the show, and he'll be here all day. We got Joan Jones in the newsroom. Trump on Epstein last night, Truth Social. Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times. Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, minority leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after he was charged, Democrat Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Again, this is Donald Trump last night on Truth Social. As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill in the House and Senate respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of passage. At my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget, the Biden administration did not turn over a single file or page related to the Epstein issue. Oh, hold on one second. I totally just, related to Democrat Epstein, nor did they even speak about him. Democrats have used the Epstein issue, which affects them far more than the Republican Party, in order to try and distract from our amazing victories, including the great big beautiful tax cut bill, strong borders, no men and women's sports, or transgender for everyone. I love how he says that. It's the transgender for everyone. They want transgender for everyone. They're distracted from our wins. Ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, lowering prices, biggest tax and regulation cuts in history, ending 8 wars, rebuilding our military, knocking out Iran's nuclear capability, getting trillions of dollars invested in the USA, creating the hottest country anywhere in the world, and delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats on the recent shutdown disaster. For years, our great nation has had to endure Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and many other Democrat-created witch hunts and scams, all of which have been so terrible and divisive for our country and have been done to confuse, deflect, and distract from the great job that the Republicans and the Trump administration are doing. This latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats just as all the rest have. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So that's the president last night on True Social. I do believe that this is going to backfire in the Democrats' faces in just epic proportions. And the Democrats have a lot of messes right now. Let's talk about Stacey Plaskett, though. There's a guy by the name of Lee Fang, independent journalist, wrote an article for Substack, and it is wild how much he details the deep ties between Stacey Plaskett, the Democrat rep out of the Virgin Islands who was texting with Epstein during the Michael Cohen hearing in 2019. He breaks down her ties, and when you listen to how she really got her start, you have to wonder how long has she been controlled by this guy, and you have to wonder a lot of things. Let's read the article, shall we? It's an unbelievable read. Everybody should be reading this. Lee Fang, Leefang. I was trying to go to bed last night, and I found this article, and I was up. I was scamming this thing, scanning it big time. Democrat delegate Stacey Plaskett, a representative of the U.S. Virgin Islands in Congress, has distanced herself from convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, claiming she was completely unaware of his donations. However, recent court filings shed light on a much closer relationship between Plaskett and Epstein than previously known. Really? Do go on. The unsealed documents outline a decade-long association involving direct solicitations for money, personal meetings, and employment at a law firm deeply connected to Epstein's shadowy network. So the law firm that she worked at handled all of the taxes for Jeffrey Epstein. Plaskett not only repeatedly sought financial contributions from Epstein and had multiple face-to-face encounters with him, but she also worked directly for a St. Thomas-based law firm that played a role in cultivating influence for Epstein's clandestine activities. In a deposition last month, Plaskett, this isn't ancient history, this is last month. In a deposition last month, Plaskett disclosed that she was introduced to Epstein by Erica Kellerhals, an attorney who lobbied on his behalf and represented his business and philanthropic ventures. Kellerhall's significance goes beyond a casual connection. Before Plaskett's congressional tenure, she worked at Kellerhall's Ferguson Croblin PLLC, the boutique tax firm in the Virgin Islands from 2013 to 2014, a period in which Epstein was a major client. That's interesting.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? Plaskett's involvement with Epstein may extend even further back, as she previously served as a counsel on the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, which granted Epstein $300 million in allegedly improperly obtained tax exemptions over the course of 2 decades. Asked during her deposition if she worked for Epstein or any Epstein-linked businesses while serving at Kellerhall's law firm, which specializes in EDA assistance, Plaskett responded, "I do not recall." The 2 years during which she worked for Epstein's lawyer are notably missing from her LinkedIn account. That's odd. That's weird. With a 2-year gap between 2012 and when she entered Congress in 2015. Huh. You're not trying to hide that, are you? I wouldn't make that assumption. Emails and testimony, however, closely link Plaskett's rapid political rise with Epstein's deep pockets. 2014, Cecil DeJong, a close aide to Epstein, advised him to support Plaskett in her bid for Congress against local legislator Sean Michael Malone. Sean is the one who came after you in the Senate hearing last week. He is nasty and needs to be defeated. We have a friend in Stacey, wrote DeJong. 2014. During the election, Epstein aides, including Darren Indike, Leslie Groff, and the Kellerhalls, donated heavily to Plaskett, helping her overcome Malone by a mere 737 votes. Starting to smell a little fishy. Does it smell fishy to you? Is it passing the sniff test? They called this one of the biggest upsets in Virgin Island politics. That year, DeJong wrote to Epstein to confirm that a $13,000 corporate donation planned for the Democrat Party would be made for the benefit of Stacey Plaskett. Plaskett courted more financial support, met with the convicted sex offender at his St. Thomas office. According to the testimony, Epstein donated the maximum amount to Plaskett in 2016 and again in 2018. If you would share this invitation with Jeffrey, I'd be much appreciative, wrote Plaskett on July 12, 2018, over email to Keller Halls and Leslie Groff, beckoning the financier to a New York City fundraiser with Michael Bloomberg. Groff was Epstein's personal assistant who has been accused of helping Epstein recruit underage girls. I would be grateful for his support and the support of those that he may direct to assist me, Plaskett continued in an email that was subsequently forwarded to Epstein. Less than 2 weeks after the exchange, Epstein wrote a $2,700 check to Plaskett. Later that year, Yolanda Addison, then a Plaskett consultant who now serves as the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, continued to write Epstein requesting his support at several Plaskett campaign fundraising events. That's weird. So they're still working at the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, and they were soliciting Epstein for money. During this same deposition, Plaskett revealed that she had also traveled to Epstein's Upper East Side residency in the fall of 2018 for another fundraising venture. She answered, "I don't know," to most questions about the meeting, but described some details of her memories from the visit. Someone opening the door, coming into a large foyer area, meeting Leslie Groff, telling me that he would be with me, recalled Plaskett in her testimony. The meeting provided an opportunity for Plaskett to request $30,000 to from Epstein for the Democrat Congressional Committee campaign committee, the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee, the campaign arm of the House Democrats. Following the meeting, Plaskett conferred with her staff for a follow-up email for the Keller Halls to pass along a fundraising appeal to Epstein. The DCCC, however, refused that donation from Epstein given his well-known record at the time of trafficking young women. The court case revealed much of this information is the lawsuit between case that revealed much of this information is the lawsuit between J.P. Morgan Chase and the Virgin Islands government. In a filing last month, the bank's lawyers accused the Virgin Islands government of facilitating Epstein's criminal enterprise. The record submitted to the federal court suggests the Keller Halls, Plaskett's former employer, was at the center of a sprawling influence network designed to keep Epstein's tax liabilities low and his political influence high. The financial trust company, Epstein's primary business enterprise, listed the Keller Halls as its primary contact, while she and other Epstein associates pressed the Virgin Islands government for lucrative tax exemptions, including an exemption on gross receipts, business property, and excise taxes. Several charities founded by Epstein were also registered or maintained by the Keller Halls, including Gratitude America Ltd., which he used to funnel money to his elite allies and buy influence. Keller Halls also handled a 2011 deed that gave Epstein full ownership of the opulent home in Manhattan, once owned by Les Wexner. This goes on and on and on. And when you dig deeper, you realize how deep Stacey Plaskett was involved. Now, despite the overwhelming evidence of Plaskett's ties to the financier, the Congresswoman has attempted to downplay her relationship with Epstein. Earlier this month, she was on a radio interview on WTJX-FM. The show's called Analyze This, and the host asked Plaskett about her deposition. And she said, Epstein was a reprehensible person. I'm truly disgusted by his actions. I regret accepting the campaign contribution, but at the time, I was unaware that my campaign had received it. At the time I first received his contribution, I was actually unaware that my campaign had received it. bovine scatology. Let everybody know. Let everybody know that's bovine scatology. Those claims are flatly false or misleading, given the court records showing Plaskett's repeated direct appeals to Epstein for donations to her campaign and to the DCCC. During that same interview, Plaskett further claimed she is the only person who received Epstein donations who has given the money back. That's also false. Several Virgin Island legislators received money, gave it back. Chuck Schumer received money, gave it back. They donated it to charity. But it remains unclear if Plaskett has fully divested herself of all the funds associated with Epstein. Initially reluctant to relinquish the $8,100 in direct donations, she eventually donated the money to charity. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It gets crazier and crazier and crazier with Stacey Plaskett. So that's the Lee Fang article. When you do some more digging on this woman and you realize what she was doing in 2016, there was a video that came out where her husband was in makeup and in drag, and she was naked, and there was a child in the room. It raises a lot of other questions about Epstein. We'll talk about that when we get back. 921, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at USS. The rain is falling today, and if you have been kicking the can down the road on your waterproofing issues, it's getting into your basement, it's getting into your crawl space, today is one of those days where you go, why didn't I handle this already? And if you're feeling that way, today could be the day that you call USS. That water getting into your crawl space and into your basement, it's not going to fix itself. And if it goes unattended to, it's going to lead to longer-term problems that are going to absolutely wreck your health, wreck your home, and more. That water could lead to wood rot. Wood rot leads to foundation issue. That water could lead to mold. Mold is going to lead to health issues. Don't let this happen to you, your family, or your home. Call the best. Call USS. They've been doing this work since 1994, keeping Tennessee homes dry, stable, and secure the way they should be. So when it comes to your home, stop kicking the can down the road. Call USS today. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. These guys are going to come in and they're going to fix it right the first time. USSTN.com.
Up ahead, the federal criminal case against James Comey may be crumbling. Also, we'll tell you why President Trump is calling for some Democrat lawmakers to be arrested. That and more coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Mason Fleming is producing, as always, doing a fantastic job. One of the best. One of the best. He deserves a raise.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I wish I could give it to you. We were talking about Stacey Plaskett. I think that we thoroughly proved how well she knew Epstein based on the donations, based on the face-to-face meetings, based on the time at the New York penthouse, all the things, right? The emails. I mean, heck, she admitted in her own words just a couple days ago that, yes, she was texting with him during a congressional hearing where they were trying to get Trump, and she was only texting with him because, well, he was giving her information.
And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation, and who was sharing information with me.
Who was sharing information with me. Here's my only question. This is the only question that I have today, is how comped is Stacey Plaskett? How compromised is she? Because the more you look into her, the crazier it becomes. Let's go to 2016. She'd only run for office once before in 2012. But in 2016, her husband and herself, Stacey Plaskett, have a nude video leak. Stacey Plaskett's nude photos also leak while Plaskett films her nude husband, who is in lipstick and eyeshadow, and he says something to one of their children, aged 5 to 7, who then appears behind the husband, all while Stacey Plaskett is filming. Stacey Plaskett released a statement acknowledging the video and the photos were real and said her political enemies were behind the incident. Am I the only one that sees that and wonders who compromised you, who leaked it, and does that influence any of your moves going forward? Because we fast forward to that 2019 congressional hearing, and she is texting with Epstein, receiving information. Fast forward a little bit more, though. January of 2022, U.S. Virgin Islands General Denise George files a 30-page lawsuit against J.P. Morgan. It's a big deal. They were sued for covering up Epstein's sex crimes. Fast forward to the holiday season, December 27, 2022, same year. President Joe Biden goes to the U.S. Virgin Islands for vacation. He's taking Christmas break in St. Croix, as he often does. Fast forward about a week, January 3rd, 2023. The prosecutor, Denise George, who had filed that lawsuit against J.P. Morgan, is fired.
The money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Got fired. Weird. There's a lot of weird coincidences around the U.S. Virgin Islands, Stacey Plaskett, and Jeffrey Epstein. And I think all of these weird coincidences are blowing up in the Democrats' face, and we're watching the Democrats run away from this big time. However, we can't rest on our laurels here. We still got to fight. A new poll just came out that shows Democrats have a massive advantage in the midterms. We're going to talk about that new poll, and we're going to talk about why we need to keep our foot on the gas and go after these Democrats as hard as humanly possible between now and then when we get back. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Tennessee has joined a settlement with property management company Greystar, which is accused of artificially increasing rent prices by using what's called algorithmic pricing. Channel 4's Tracy Cornett.
Greystar shared supply and pricing data with their competitors through the RealPage software. Tennessee's Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says this caused rent prices and hikes there that did not align with the market and reduced competition, too.
Greystar manages more than 6,000 rental units in the state of Tennessee. The criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey is on rocky ground. He's been charged with making a false statement and obstructing Congress. But at a court hearing yesterday, the way the prosecutor, Lindsay Halligan, secured the indictment against him was highly scrutinized by the judge.
The judge ended up putting Halligan on the spot. She has never tried a criminal case before. And she admitted that she never showed the full grand jury the final version of the indictment before it was signed by the foreperson. And that is highly irregular. The disclosure shocked the courtroom into silence, and almost immediately his attorney called for the entire case to be thrown out.
ABC's Aaron Katersky, CNN, saying that some may consider it a clerical error that could be fixed. Others see it as a possibility that it could be the fatal flaw in this case. Well, this video has angered President Trump.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
Democrat lawmakers telling our military to defy the commander-in-chief. On Truth Social this morning, the president calls it seditious behavior and calls for the lawmakers to be arrested and put on trial. That is the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Glock store, and I got to tell you some good news. The Black Friday sale just got even bigger. They extended it to Saturday. It's going to be their first annual Black Friday and Super Saturday sale. Virtually everything is going to be on sale, including a special deal on a special Glock at a price way too low to mention. In fact, there's going to be so many great deals. Here's what I recommend. You check out the deals in the Black Friday category on Glockstore.com. You make a list of what you want, and then you browse the store while the staff gets your order together. It's going to be the best shopping experience you've ever had, and while you're waiting, you might just win one of the incredible high-dollar raffles going on that day. This way, when you do it this way, you're not going to forget anything. You're going to have your list settled. You're going to be able to get in there, have fun, enjoy the festivities, and then not forget what's on your list. Plus, you can enjoy a great meal from Uncle Bud's food truck. Donaldson's favorite fried chicken and catfish restaurant has a brand new food truck, and you'll be one of the first to try it out. So let's just recap this thing in case you're not keeping score. Great deals on everything, including Glocks, all-day raffles, great prizes, Uncle Bud's food truck. Woo! I mean, I can taste the hush puppies right now, can't you? The Glock Store's Black Friday Super Saturday sale, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. 937 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can listen to us on iHeart, tune in to the FM dial. You can watch the show Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. I got a text from 8602, and I love the text. We were talking about Stacey Plaskett. She's a U.S. Representative from the Virgin Islands, okay? And 8602, great text, said, I would rather work on exposing Congress members who can vote. And I would say, yes, you're correct. You are absolutely correct. U.S. Congress delegates like Stacey Plaskett cannot vote as regular members of the 435-member House of Representatives do. However, delegates are permitted to cast any vote as a member of the select committees they're appointed to. And fun fact, Stacey Plaskett was on the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee, which prepares the annual budget, the annual United States government budget resolution of spending and public debt. She was on the U.S. House Budget Committee. She was on the U.S. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, having legislative oversight over the entire United States intelligence community and military intelligence programs, including all activities, monitoring, and covert action plans. Is that enough? I mean, like, is that okay? If she's completely comped by Epstein? I don't think so. Furthermore, there's more here. Stacey was also appointed to head the Weaponization of Government Subcommittee in 2022 by Joe Biden. She was the head of it. That's to investigate alleged abuses of power by the executive branch agencies, including the FBI, the Department of Justice, and others, and to examine how they collect information on U.S. citizens. Do you trust that woman to be the head of that? But this is all after we know that Stacey Plaskett had compromised photos and videos of her and her husband released to the public, showing her husband naked, herself naked, her husband in drag with young children between 5 and 7 in the video. That video is dark. The Congresswoman can be heard talking while recording her husband with a cell phone. He appears fully naked, wearing lipstick, eyeshadow. Then he says something to one of their children, appearing to be 5 to 7 years old, who then appears behind her seemingly naked father. So I have questions. You have this weird video leak. You're in constant contact with a guy who's already been convicted of sex crimes, and you're the head of the committee in charge of uprooting corruption in the federal government. And you're also receiving text messages from that same convicted sex offender in real time during congressional hearings. I think that we should keep tugging on that thread. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I think this is a winning issue for Republicans, and we should go at it as hard as we can. We got less than a year before midterms, and we have to keep our foot on the gas. There's a new poll out, a Marist poll, so I wouldn't put too much stock in it, but it does show that Democrats are leading Republicans by a massive 14 points in the generic ballot. This is from Breitbart. Democrats currently have a 14-point lead against the Republicans among registered voters nationally on the 2026 generic congressional ballot question. This has changed considerably. Since 2022, voters have been divided about which party's candidate they would support. This, even though those polled place most of the blame for the shutdown on the congressional Democrats, still 6 in 10 blame either the president or the GOP in Congress. When asked which political party they would prefer to control Congress, 55% of those polled said Democrats, only 41% said the GOP. I don't want to put too much weight in the poll this far out, but this should be a wake-up call, and we should be focusing on how we get back. How do we get back? I think that's a big question. Well, one of the most popular times that we had so far in the last 10 months was when we had DOJ absolutely tearing apart the federal government. Tim Burchett was on with Benny Johnson yesterday, and he said Elon Musk got run out of D.C. because of how aggressively he was nuking NGO dark money. Tim Burchett said he was getting too close. That's why both parties shunned him. He said NGO money floods Washington into the pockets of politicians in the form of dark money. That's why you see Republicans go squishy on NGO. They're shady as hell. They all are. Very little DOJ has gotten done on the congressional side, only on the executive. We need more. If we want to get back before the midterms, I think that, we've seen Elon Musk and Donald Trump reconcile on the main stage. We saw them at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. We saw them during the dinner with the Saudi Crown Prince. We need Elon back in the government. We need Doge going full force. And again, we saw the photos. Elon Musk posted a photo with President Trump. Trump posted a photo with Elon Musk. But getting Doge up and running and doing what it was promised to do would be a huge win on the way to the midterms. But we also need to keep calling out the Democrats. And we need to call out their failures, and we need to call out their corruption. Stephen Miller was talking about just that yesterday on Fox News.
Supreme Court, appoint 10 radical loyalists and destroy our entire constitutional order forever. In other words, they don't believe in systems, they don't believe in rules, they don't believe in laws. They believe in whatever keeps them in power. And if what they think keeps them in power is a military insurrection or a CIA insurrection, that's what they support. But if in a different setting, if, say, a soldier doesn't want to take the COVID vaccine, then they represent a threat to order in their view, and that person must be crushed and deprived of employment, deprived of opportunity. If a Democrat, for example, complains about election integrity, that person's a hero. If a Republican complains of election integrity, that person's to be jailed and incarcerated for life. This is the moment that we're in. This is what we're dealing with. So when we say that Democrats are communists, we don't just mean that, well, they believe in the state control of property. We mean they've adopted a method of thinking in which any use of force is justified for their end state of power and control.
Stephen Miller's absolutely right. I mean, to summarize what he said, Democrats are corrupt, power-hungry hypocrites, and we need to do everything that we can to expose them between now and the midterms. So if that means tugging on a thread like Stacey Plaskett, then that's what we need to do. We also need to just highlight what the Democrats are doing themselves. Elected Democrats released a video on the internet. You heard it in Jones' newscast just the other day, encouraging members of the military to commit treason and defy orders from Trump and Hegseth. You heard Stephen Miller talking about that there. Yeah, a lawful order from Trump or Hegseth, defy it. If you don't want to get a COVID vaccine, how dare you? You're kicked out of the military. This is the video that's been going around from congressional Democrats saying, please, defy your orders from the commander-in-chief.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard
and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Stunning and brave. If you don't want to get a COVID vaccine or your booster, you're a stupid bigot and you're kicked out of the military. However, please don't listen to any orders from President Trump at the exact same time. Are they calling for an overthrow of the U.S. government? Is this a seditious conspiracy? What the hell is that? Byron Donalds was asked about this on Fox Business with Kudlow.
What is this story? You've got this Senator Slotkin of Michigan and other Democrats with ads telling men and women of the military services to disobey their orders. Am I hearing this right? Is this America? I don't understand it, Byron.
Larry, this is crazy. The Democrats are now fomenting an insurrection of military personnel, of our intelligence apparatus against the duly elected commander-in-chief of the United States of America, Donald Trump. And why are they doing this? Because they have no answers on the core questions from your last panel on affordability, on energy, on how you're going to make the American people's lives better, more affordable, and allow the American dream to thrive and prosper. So now they're looking to have military officials not follow orders. This is nuts. But what do we expect from a Democrat Party that has no ideas, does not have the pulse of what's going on in our country and ways to fix it? They now want to create an insurrection against the commander-in-chief. Despicable, crazy, but at this point, the circus at Washington, D.C. is, why would we be surprised?
Why are we shocked? Are you shocked? I don't think you are. I don't think you're shocked one bit. Don't follow orders from the commander-in-chief. Okay. It's a hot take. But Byron Donalds is right. They're doing this because they have nothing else to offer. They have nothing else to offer. That's the current state of the Democrat Party. We need to keep our foot on the gas going after these radical leftists. And make no mistake about it, the Dems are in trouble. We're seeing more and more Democrats. We now have 3 congressional Democrats who are currently under federal indictment. We got LaMonica McIver. She was the woman that assaulted the federal agent outside of the ICE facility in New Jersey. We got Henry Cuellar out of Texas. Is it Cuellar? I believe that's how you pronounce it. Cuellar out of Texas. He's going down for bribery. And a new challenger just emerged yesterday. Sheila Cherifilis McCormick, Democrat out of Florida. She's been charged with stealing more than $5 million in FEMA funds, laundering the proceeds, and then using that money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. Wow. If she's convicted, she's going to face up to 53 years in prison. Bill Malugin had the story on X saying, according to the indictment, Cherifilis McCormick, 46, and her brother, Edwin Cherifilis, 51, both of Miramar, worked through their family healthcare company on FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract in 2021. In July of 2021, the company received an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. The indictment alleges that the defendants conspired to steal that $5 million and route it through multiple accounts and disguise its source. Prosecutors allege that a substantial portion of the misappropriated funds was used as candidate contributions to McCormick's 2021 congressional campaign and for the personal benefit of the defendants. The indictment further alleges that McCormick and Nadij LeBlanc, 46 of Miramar, arranged additional contributions using straw donors, funneling other monies from the FEMA-funded COVID-19 contract to friends and relatives who then donated the campaign as if they were using their own money. The indictment also alleges that McCormick and her 2021 tax preparer, David K. Spencer, 41 of Davie, Florida, with conspiring to file a false federal tax return. According to the indictment, they falsely claimed political spending and other personal expenses as business deductions and inflated charitable contributions in order to reduce her tax obligations. This is the way forward if we want to win the midterms. Let's be perfectly honest. We need to find every corrupt Democrat and charge them with a crime. And if you're looking at everything that we've seen so far, just in like the past 2 weeks, there's a lot of leftists that we could go after. Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, Stacey Plaskett, Bill Richardson, George Mitchell, Hakeem Jeffries, Michael Wolff, Catherine Rumler. This should be the biggest priority for Republicans heading into midterms in 2026. Donald Trump got voted in on the promise of draining the swamp. We all remember drain the swamp. We know the swamp is going to fight back, but we're in a position now where we actually could be pressing charges against these Democrats, and we don't have a moment to waste. But instead, what are we doing? Seems like a lot of times we're sitting on our hands, cutting backroom deals, and not getting anything done. The Department of Justice needs to go into overdrive. Investigations need to go into overdrive, and we need to see some Democrats in silver bracelets ahead of the midterms in 2026. A lot more than the 3 that we currently have under federal indictment. A lot more. Maybe then we can win back some of the black-pilled voters. Not voters that we lost to the Democrats, voters that we just lost in general before the midterms in 2026. That needs to be one of our number one priorities. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I see a couple people waiting on the line. Brian, Bobby, hang on, guys. We'll get to your calls next. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Why a retired police officer plans a civil rights lawsuit against Perry County officials. And the effort to expel a sitting congresswoman is underway. We've got that story and more coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Got a lot of people waiting on the line, want to talk. Let's go to Brian. You're up first on Super Talk. What's up, Brian?
What's up, man? Hey, I can't listen to your broadcast this morning without thinking lots of things, and it's going through my head. All this stuff. I was raised by streetwise people that were Christians, which, you know, you don't usually see that because you're supposed to shun those. Plus, the guy that started my Christian school where I graduated high school, he told me one time, if it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
It's fair.
We wanted to know how do you identify evil in the world, even though sometimes you can tell straight out, but a lot of times you can't. That's what these people are, evil and deviant. How in the world can you film and they know who it is, even to adults, but the children are in that film of Plaskett and her husband. How can that be and not be punishable by some law and maybe put in jail? That would be my that's what I would want. So
yeah, I mean, we got to keep tugging on the Stacey Plaskett thread. That is, it's an easy one to tug on.
Dude, I believe you've hit on well, not just you, but a lot of them. But I think you're all going down a good rabbit hole here, and just keep doing it. But it's like you say, if we're going to talk about it, you know, that's not good enough. We want to see some stuff. I still want to see Biden arrested. I think he's the head of it all, even though people say he didn't know. I don't care about that. You were in the position. You got to answer for it, buddy. I don't care how old you are, how bad off you are, cancer or not. Sorry, you got to go to jail.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to Mike in Nashville. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, how you doing?
What's up, man? What do you got? Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Listen, man. What you were just talking about a few minutes ago, I think Trump is right about that. These people need to be arrested, man. They telling the military to not obey his orders, and they're going a little bit too far now. You know, they've done everything. You know, they letting the immigrants in the country. They've just about, you know, the judges and everything. They're letting the people protest, and now they've gone too far. These congressmen or senators or whoever they are, when you sign up with the military, I was in the military. You sign an oath that you will obey the rules and the regulations of the United States of America. And then for a congressman, somebody that hasn't never even been in the damn military, to say something like that, those people need to be arrested for what they're doing, because they're blatantly trying to go underneath Donald Trump and make his job even harder than what it is.
Yep.
And these congressmen and senators need to be, like Trump said, they need to be arrested and placed in jail, because that's insurrection against America as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I think for taking my call.
I'm with you, Mike. I hate the video. And you know what their intent is. And I see a lot of texts are like, well, they're saying don't follow unlawful orders. And it's like, yeah, they're playing verbal gymnastics. Make no mistake about it. So that way they can't be held accountable for anything that happens. But we know what they're implying. They're implying subverting the military and your orders from the commander in chief. We all know what time it is. I've had quite a few people texting me saying, hey, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. And you know what I've done every time? I've invited them to call in. You know what they haven't done any single time? Called in.
Surprise.
You guys, if you disagree with me, I like conversation. This is one of the things that bugs me the most. I'll get people that disagree on the text line, and I'll be like, hey, man, like this is usually what I'll say. I'll be like, hey, man, we can have a good conversation, and I'll let you talk. We're not going to yell. We're not going to scream, but call in. And then I get a no. Why would I want to do that? Somebody texted, Jeremiah said, I don't care. You only talk to your echo chamber, unlike Chad, who at least tells both sides. I'm giving you an opportunity to tell your side. That's fine. You don't have to. I can carry on without you, but you're more than welcome to call 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 10:01. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Metro police are searching for a suspect who escaped Nashville General Hospital Wednesday morning. Officers said a 20-year-old Marcus Stanton had been handcuffed when he ran from police. He had been treated for swallowing drugs, so police couldn't get their hands on them. This man tells Channel 4 he just can't believe it.
Man, it's pretty alarming, but it's not surprising what goes on around here in this neighborhood. And we just got to watch out for the kids, man.
Stanton had been wanted on multiple warrants, including auto and gun theft. A Metro Nashville school bus crashed in Antioch this morning, happened at Hickory Highlands Drive at Rural Hill Road. Police say it involved the bus and two other vehicles, one of which appears to have substantial damage to the rear of the vehicle. The bus had some front-end damage. Police say there were students taken to the hospital. No serious injuries reported, however. It's been nearly a month since Perry County prosecutors dropped a felony charge against a retired police officer, and he is now preparing to sue. Larry Bushart had been arrested for making a threatening post on Facebook, even though the post referenced Perry County High School in Iowa. His lawyer is David Rubin. He spoke to News 2.
We can only assume that the sheriff made the decision to arrest Larry because the name of the Iowa high school and the name of his county are similar.
Bushart's bail was set at $2 million, and he spent a month in jail before being released. His lawsuit is expected to be filed early next year. A Democrat congresswoman from Florida, Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, has stepped down from her leadership position on the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee after being indicted for allegedly stealing $5 million in FEMA funds. Here's Local 10 News Miami reporter Aaron Mabin.
Federal prosecutors say Sherfilis McCormick and her brother Edwin Sherfilis ran a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract through their family health care company. Prosecutors say in July 2021, the company received a $5 million overpayment. Prosecutors say the group diverted that money and tried to hide it through multiple accounts. The indictment says a large portion of those funds was used for campaign contributions and personal expenses.
Now, if convicted, she could face up to 53 years in prison. A resolution has just been filed this morning to expel Sherfilis McCormick from Congress. It was filed by Congressman Greg Steube of Florida. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. Why on earth would you need those?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
It's a real thing. It happens. BetterWater.com. That's a reason. It's a reason. We love those guys. Save the frogs. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us, Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We appreciate you doing that. We appreciate you guys in the YouTube chat and on the text line and the phone lines, 615-737-9986. Travis in the borough, all it says is disagree. I don't know what he disagrees with. Mason, just inside baseball, Mason puts like a little description of what the call is about, and all he put was disagree, so you go to the front of the line. Travis, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. What are we disagreeing about?
Man, you're saying the way to win midterms is go after all these shady Democrats?
Yeah.
You're talking about the voters that you've lost? I don't think it's by going after all these shady Democrats.
So here's why. But here's why I'll explain it, and I appreciate the call and to stay on the line because I want you to rebut. You have a lot of the conservative movement, Gen Z and millennial in particular, that are saying, like, nothing ever happens. The swamp is never going to get drained. Donald Trump is a part of the swamp just like everybody else. So to win back these disillusioned voters, we have to provide them the accountability that they were promised on the campaign trail. And that does mean going after corrupt Democrat officials with the same vigor that they came after Donald Trump with.
I agree to a point, but
I thought Travis, you said you were going to disagree with me, man. So we can't be agreeing.
Let me rebuttal.
Okay.
I think they're wasting way too much time. The way to get people back is to actually do your job. It's not people. The average American believes if you are an elected official, you are shady. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. The average American believes if you're an elected politician, you are shady.
Yeah.
So why are we still finger pointing and be like, look what they did, look what they did. Oh, now they're in office. Now look what they did, look what they did. I'm not just looking for finger pointing. I want actual accountability. I want court cases. I want indictments. I want jail time. You know that's not going to happen. All it is trying to finger point each other. But at the same time, I want them to actually go in and do their job. They're more worried about throwing each other under the bus than they are actually doing their job. But I would say with this Trump administration, we've seen them have the ability to walk and chew gum at the exact same time. We've seen foreign wins and we've seen domestic wins. The border is secure and there's peace in the Middle East. So like we can do both. How many executive orders have they pushed through? Quite a few. You have quite a few. You have the House and you have the Senate both, and yet you're still worried. I mean, I want the Epstein stuff just as much as the next person. Yeah, sure, but that's not the big picture right now. Like, they need to stop worrying about who is sitting in the seats and start worrying about the American people. Well, this is one of the reasons why I've been pushing to nuke the filibuster. For this exact reason, to your point with the executive orders. We need to codify this stuff into Congress. We also need to codify voter ID. We need to get rid of mail-in voting. We need to make it very difficult for the Democrats to cheat. This is all full circle. We can do all of these things at once. What I'm pointing out, though, is you have a huge portion of voters that are Gen Z and millennial, which are going to make up the biggest voter base in this country. And they're black-pilled. We didn't lose them to the left. We just lost them. They think that everything's uniparty. It's two wings of the same bird. And we need to provide the accountability that they were promised during the campaign. Okay, so you get a Democrat out of Massachusetts arrested and thrown in jail. So, okay, we got one person out. What's going to happen? A new Democrat's going to be voted in. Unless you're going into a complete purple section to where if you do point out a flaw in the Democrat Party, for the most part, most of America, you know it's blue or it's red. But I'm not saying that we're going to take out a Democrat in Massachusetts and then a conservative is going to spring up in their spot. I'm saying we go after corrupt officials no matter where they are, and we hold them accountable. I understand that, but at the same time, whenever you get
the corrupt one out, if it's in a blue area, it doesn't matter. They're going to have another blue person step up.
So, but does that mean that we should abandon the rule of law and not go after corrupt officials? Because that's exactly the type of thinking that has blackpilled so many voters in the conservative movement.
I'm saying we are so much in debt that all we're doing is spending so much money and finger pointing, and no one's ever being held accountable. So worry about doing what you actually got elected to do.
But one of the things that was on the campaign trail that was a promise was holding these officials accountable.
So was Doge.
Yeah, and listen, and I understand you can't listen to the entire show. But when I opened up with that poll, that Marist poll, which I said, listen, I'm not going to put too much stock into it, but we should at least look to this poll where it has Democrats up by 14 points. I said we were the most popular when we had Doge rocking. And Elon got run out of town by both the Republicans and the Democrats. And I made the exact same point, but I would continue with, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can bring back Doge full force, and we can still go after these corrupt politicians.
Your part of your promise on the campaign trail was that, yes, but it was also to lower the debt. Has that happened? No. I mean, like, you're saying that the most important promise on the campaign trail was to point out who was doing stuff behind closed doors. Like that was not.
I never said that was. I never said that was the most important promise. What I said was
that's what you're mainly concerned about. You're mainly concerned.
No. The main thing I'm concerned about is disillusioned voters, because disillusioned voters, low prop, no prop voters, could cost us the midterms. And if we lose in the midterms, then we got 2 years of just a lame duck presidency. So it's not a main. My main concern is bringing those black pilled disillusioned voters back into the circle and saying, "Listen, we're here for you."
The way to do it is saying, "Look how bad these other people are."
I think that's part of it. I think
fired up.
I do actually. I do.
I'm going to go vote. I'm going to go vote because this person's so bad. Like.
No.
Exactly.
I'm voting because they're keeping the promises they kept. I think that there needs to be a full faceted approach. It's not just going after corrupt politicians. It would also be ending the H-1B visa scam. 80% of those are entry-level workers, and that directly affects Gen Z and millennial voters who want to own a home, who want to have a family. But we can do both of these things at once. We need to do all of it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're hyper focused on me saying that we need to hold corrupt officials accountable, which I think is a big portion of it.
You hyper focus your show on. You talk more about corrupt officials than you do anything else.
What? But I don't think you listen to the whole show. Then I'll be perfectly honest with you. How? And I'm not even like begrudging you, because I know people are busy and we got a bunch of different things going on all the time. But if you think that that's all I talk about, I think you're missing the mark.
All you talked about.
That's what you just said.
I said that is what your hyper focus is on.
Yes, that has been the topic. That has been the topic of discussion today, for sure, because we're talking about Stacey Plaskett, who was texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing, using information that he was giving her directly to go after Trump. Yes, I think that's a thread we need to keep pulling on. Yes, I think after all of the revelations that we've seen.
With the whole Epstein thing, I think that you completely lost idea of it was about the victims, and it was more about who can we get caught up in this.
I mean, I think that you're fair to make that critique on me, but I think that I would tell you that during the 4 years under Joe Biden, we were just as interested in the Epstein files. During the years leading up to 2016, we were just as interested in the Epstein files. And yeah, now I'm pissed. Now that they've used it as a bludgeon against Trump.
You were this is for the victims, and I think that it has transitioned into, okay, who are we going to get caught in this?
Who is going to be held accountable though? But this is the thing. Like trying to figure out how to explain this in like a nice way. Like, yes, if there's a father in a family and he's sexually abusing the young kids. Yes, my heart goes out to the kids, and I think that the dad needs to be held accountable because we need justice for the kids. I also think that the dad should be thrown into a wood chipper feet first, slow speed. But you know what I mean? Like these are, it's the same thing. The people that are perpetrating the crime should be held accountable because that's how we bring justice for the victims.
I agree, but at the same time, I feel like if the victims wanted all of this out in the open, they would have attorneys and stuff that's going out and trying to get all of this pushed out in the open, and not just people saying, we want to know who is involved.
I mean, but how many victims have you heard from that said they're not speaking out because they're afraid of lawsuits being levied against them? I mean, we've heard that over and over and over from the victims. The victims have been...
Also, how many victims want this to die?
I'm sorry?
How many victims are just hoping this story goes away because they're tired of hearing about a terrible part of their life?
I'm sure I'm sure there's a good portion of that, but does that mean that we shouldn't hold the perpetrators accountable?
At some point, it has to be the victims who want to push the thing farther. And
but the victims have been on TV.
You know,
the victims have been rallying outside of the Capitol, saying we want this to go through. We want this legislation to be passed. The legislation gets passed. It gets to Trump's desk. He signs it, and now it's like move on because we don't want to harm the victims anymore. I'm confused.
No, it's a matter of what the victims want to do, not just completely saying, okay, I want every single thing. I want to know what the victims want released. I want the victims to be the...
I mean, but Travis, I would just say go watch the video of them outside the Capitol the other day with Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They want accountability for the perpetrators as much as anybody else.
I've got to go. I have enjoyed speaking with you.
Hey, likewise, man. Appreciate it. 615-737-9986. I think Travis and I agree on a lot more than we disagree, to be perfectly honest with you. And I like those kinds of calls. 615-737-9986. Yes, we do need accountability. And accountability means elite members of society being brought up on charges for those crimes. These things go hand in hand. That's how you provide justice for the victims. At least that's my opinion. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. 615-737-9986. Yeah, we talked a lot about Epstein. It's not the only story going on today. But the Democrats who have been using this to bludgeon Trump for months on end now they don't even want to talk about it. Hakeem Jeffries was asked yesterday if he's spoken to Stacey Plaskett since it was revealed that she was texting with Epstein during the 2019 congressional hearing with Michael Cohen while Epstein was giving her information to harm Trump in real time. And he says, well, guys, that's not important anymore.
Plaskett after this controversy emerged?
I have not.
Can you confirm if there was a deal last night to sink the resolution against Congressman Plaskett in exchange for not bringing a censure resolution?
We've made clear repeatedly we're not going to unilaterally disarm.
So you're saying there was no deal?
I'm saying we will not unilaterally disarm. Not now, not ever.
Mr. Leader, why wouldn't you speak to Stacey Plaskett?
I said I haven't spoken to her since the censure resolution went down.
No, about this text controversy.
I have not spoken to her since the censure resolution went down.
Have you talked to her about this text controversy?
She and I have talked, and it's a private conversation that will remain private.
Now the Democrats just want to run away from this thing. Now that they've been exposed, now that their dirty laundry is being aired, now it's not an expedient political weapon against Trump. So they're like, guys, are we still talking about this? Why are we still talking about this? Because it's important. And because I think the more you pull on that thread, the more Democrats are going to be exposed. It's not just about going after Democrats. And I've said many times, any conservative, any Republican that's also on the list that is named by a victim and there's evidence against them, they need to be thrown in the fire as well. Let's not beat around the bush. If you were committing crimes against these young girls, you should be held accountable. Up to and including the president. Though I've said many, many times, I don't think that the there is there when it comes to President Trump. You're welcome to join the show. 615-737-9986. It's 1021. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res. You got family coming over to the house. They're not going to tell you this, so I'm going to tell you this before they get there. Your carpets are gross. They're nasty. Call Zero Res today. Get them cleaned up. It's not going to break the bank. $45 any room. It's the Maha of carpet cleaning. They're using their exclusive ZR water. That means no soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue. It means your carpets aren't just going to look clean. They're going to stay clean longer. So if you're like me and you got a bunch of kids running around, a bunch of dogs rolling around, once they get done, you don't have to worry about them laying on the carpets because you don't have to worry about what's in the fibers anymore. Call Zero Res today. The ratings are through the roof. The people that work there are the best, and they're going to take care of your floors no matter what you got. Tile, rugs, upholstery, carpets, they can clean it up. 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376, or book online, ZeroResNashville.com.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
A pregnant Nashville woman has gone missing. The effort to find her is underway. And the who's who of attendees at former Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral. That and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. We got CNN on the studio thanks to Matt Murphy. It never goes off. He watches it so you don't have to. But we just watched Dick Cheney's casket walked into the church, the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. We're monitoring that situation. Rest in peace to Dick Cheney. Not one of my favorites, but hey, man, it is what it is.
Did you see Biden?
No, is he there?
He's there. They had a shot of all the people who have been in office. There was Bush. Biden was there with Jill. Pence was there with his wife.
I see Liz Cheney. Anybody walk in and start handing out envelopes to make the internet go insane?
Oh, that would have been wild.
Do you remember that? It was Bush Sr.'s funeral.
Yeah.
That was where a lot of the QAnon stuff went just absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
They were like, they handed the envelopes and said, "You're all cooked." Remember that? You remember that?
Yeah.
I can't be the only one that remembers that. I haven't seen any envelopes handed out to anyone.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. There's still time.
Biden looks rough, though.
Does he?
Yeah, he's sitting there like mouth agape, just 1,000-yard stare.
Well, rest in peace, Dick Cheney.
Rest in peace.
It's 1027, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Got quite a few people waiting on the line. Let's go to, who's been holding longer? Is it Anthony or Brad? I can't see on my screen.
Anthony.
Anthony, you're up first on Super Talk. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, how about you, man?
Good, man. What's going on?
So, I kind of agree with the last caller. I think he was talking about the victims and their reluctance to come forward. Even though that really, as it finally came forward with that press conference thing, I think that you can't get justice if they don't want to do what's required for justice, which is share their story. And even when they were trying to do it with Massey and whoever else it was, I think it was O'Connor, they didn't do it. They just gassed everybody for their election campaign efforts, and they just allowed that to do well anything else that President Trump wanted to do. But how can you...
So wait. So hold on. Just real. I'm just having a tough time hearing you. I don't know if you're on speakerphone or what the case may be. But are you saying that just yes or no? You're saying that the victims don't actually want accountability? Is that what you're saying?
Not the ones that were in the at the press conference thing, but the ones that are still hidden.
Okay. Well, but here's what I would say. And God forbid, but if you had a daughter who was sexually assaulted, wouldn't you want federal or local authorities to press charges on the perpetrator?
Absolutely, but I can't force her to do something that she doesn't want to do or that she's not comfortable doing.
But victims aren't the only ones capable of pressing charges. Like, you understand that, right?
But if she doesn't tell me anything, how can I go for? How can I help her go forward with this? If she doesn't tell me who may have done something or how anything that would secure
if your daughter was sexually assaulted, you knew who the perpetrator was, and she said, "Dad, I don't want to press charges." What would you do?
What can I do? I can't force. If I can force them to do it, then I would do it. But if I can't do that, what do you want me to do? I could take the route of a father that would do something about it, but that's not judicial.
And I guess it's not apples to apples because we're talking about one person. I think the key here is that there's thousands of victims, and there's plenty that do want accountability.
No, I'm with you on that one. And the only thing that was, if they were serious about it, especially the ones that they're all in front of the cameras, why didn't they just go ahead and name all those names in front of the House floor like they should have done, which would have granted them actually immunity for making lawsuits, but they decided not to. So it makes me wonder, like, are they serious about this or are they just playing games? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair question, and I think some of them are trying to play games. I think political games some of them are trying to play, and I don't want to besmirch victims or anything like that, but I've heard a lot of these interviews. But we just need accountability, man. Like that's we're at a point in this country where everybody has been paying attention to this story. It's reached critical mass. Like we need some accountability. Let's go to Brad in the borough. Real quick, Brad, what do you got?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. What do you got?
Making sure you can hear me good. Last one I know was muffled.
Yeah, I got you. Loud and clear.
Hi, just real quick. I know how we can eliminate this walking away from being elected official, a multi-millionaire. As soon as someone's elected, before they can get sworn in, they need to have a full financial audit. We need to know every penny that they're worth, every dime, where it's at, how it's at. Now, when you get voted out / AKA fired from your position, again, before you can leave, you've got an exit interview. We want to know exactly what you're worth, where it's at, how it's at. And if you spent 4 years in Congress and you're coming out $20 million richer, we want to know why. If you've got a $100,000 a year country club membership, where did it come from? Who gave it to you?
Yeah.
If you're only making $120,000 a year, how are you worth $10 million after 4 years? Make it accountable. Make it to where and I don't care if it's a city council all the way up to the president. Once you're elected, before you're sworn in, you have that audit, and before you leave, you have an audit, and from there, accountability needs to be made in between.
Yeah, hey, Brad, I'm a huge fan of that, and I appreciate the call. One Congress member is also trying to go a step further, and he wants to ban insider trading in Congress. It's our own Congressman, Tim Burchett. We'll talk about that when we get back. It's 10:32. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A search is underway for a pregnant Nashville woman who went missing after taking an Uber ride to a Nashville apartment complex. 37-year-old Tiffany Moore hasn't been seen since Tuesday. Channel 4's Tracy Cornett.
Her husband told police his wife was dropped off at the Twin Oaks Drive apartment complex on Tuesday. Investigators searched the complex. They weren't able to find her. Her phone was last pinged to a home on Cross Creek Road, but she was not there.
Her husband also told police he knocked on the door of an apartment where the Uber dropped her off. He said he heard noises coming from inside the apartment, but nobody answered the door. A 14-year-old arrested last night after leading police on a high-speed chase in a stolen car. This happened in Lebanon, where officers were alerted by the city's license plate reader cameras to a car that had been stolen out of Nashville earlier in the day. Police attempted to stop that Hyundai Sonata at the Walmart on Cumberland Street, but the driver sped away and led police on a pursuit onto I-40 West. The juvenile was arrested. He was 14 years old. His passenger, also a juvenile, was arrested. The funeral for former Vice President Dick Cheney is underway now at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Among the attendees, Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, Joe and Jill Biden, George and Laura Bush. Mitch McConnell is also there. President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were reportedly not invited. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you see these people in Washington, D.C. and their stupid chant?
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So here's why this is dumb. Because Donald Trump sending in the National Guard is to stop the murders. Donald Trump is actually saving lives. Over the last 2.5 years, they have had 561 black people murdered in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump is sending in the National Guard to stop the crime. So Donald Trump is actually saving black lives.
1037 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We've been having a lot of conversations. A lot of it is pertaining to the current administration, how we win back younger voters before the midterms, because we need to. There's a rift with Gen Z and millennials and the MAGA base. I said one of the ways is going to be accountability. One of the ways is going to be holding the perpetrators of the Epstein files accountable. Hold them accountable by all means. Going after Democrats, I think, is a big part of it. Limiting immigration, both illegal and legal, is a big part of it. And I think another huge part of it is not watching these elite hold on to power as they enrich themselves and their families. Tim Burchett is anti-enriching yourselves because of the information you know. And Tim Burchett yesterday was flanked by a couple others, one Democrat in particular, Pramila Jayapal. And Tim Burchett's taking a lot of heat for this. He wants to ban stock trading by members of Congress.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brian. Somebody asked me if I was going to wear my jacket up there, and I said, to quote the immortal words of Henry Winkler when he played the Fonz, I always rumble in this jacket.
It's a good jacket. He's wearing the what do they call it? Is it the hillbilly tuxedo? It's like the Carhartt jacket that his wife got him. He always rumbles in this jacket.
Because that's what we're up against. This is a fist fight, folks. Now, first, I guess I need to thank Chairman Stiles and the committee, the House Admin Administration Committee, for taking this up, because I realize what we're up against. I mean, this is, everybody talks about this place being a dadgum swamp. It's not a swamp. A swamp is something cool God created. It filters water. Animal life lives and flourishes around it. This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, for years, Congress has been using hard-working American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop. This place is crooked and is crooked as a dog's leg. That's an old East Tennessee saying, but it's the truth, and it needs to stop. America knows what's going on. We're in committee meetings. We hear things before y'all do. We can make those connections. When you see a member of this body making 400, 500, 600 trades a year, you know something's wrong. Everybody ought to do like I do. I got my buddy Tommy Seiler who invested in my mutual fund. I ended up having to cash it out because my daughter's going to school. I'm not a wealthy man. But look, this thing is broken.
He's right. Shout out to Tim Burchett for doing what he's doing. Shout out to his financial guy, Tommy, as well. I mean, listen, we see these politicians go in there. They become career politicians. This is another reason why the youth are so black-pilled on politics in America. Ban it. Ban the congressional trading. This has got to be a key strategy heading towards the midterms. Get rid of this. Tout it as a huge victory. Give the government back to the American people, not the wealthy elite who are power hungry. Ban congressional stock trading. That should be easy. That should be a day one. Other strategies I would have for the midterms, again, limiting both legal and illegal immigration, chopping the amount of visas that we give at least in half. I mean, at least 80% of the H-1B visas go to entry-level or starter jobs. Like, that's ridiculous. I heard Donald Trump yesterday during the Saudi investment forum. He was like, guys, we got to bring in talent. And I'm not against bringing in talent, but 80% of the H-1B visas are entry-level jobs. That's not talent. We can train Americans for those jobs. Let's not beat around the bush. I don't know who's speaking into Trump, and I don't expect them to know everything. I don't expect anybody to know everything. But that's bovine scatology. Having hundreds of thousands of foreign students coming in to compete with American kids for openings in college, that's bovine scatology. And then we're also competing for them in the housing market as well. Like, the ripple effects are massive. And it all goes back to that Gen Z millennial voter. What have you done for me lately? And if they look at this administration, they go, not much. There's been some wins, and I don't want to discount the wins. And I also don't want to make it seem like it would have been better if we had Kamala Harris in office, because that's not the reality either. But at least we wouldn't be looking at Kamala Harris at times through rose-colored glasses the same way we look at Trump through rose-colored glasses. And the same way we look at this administration through rose-colored glasses. I want to tout the successes. I want to tout the victories. Make no mistake about it. But we need to address some glaring holes. It's affordability. It's foreigners. It's immigration. It's the wealthy elite, the power-hungry individuals that are trading on insider information. It's the wealthy elite who are never held accountable for their crimes. This is the stuff that's blackpilling the youth in this country. So we need to work on that. Steve on the road. Steven wants to talk about midterms. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Chris, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, if you want to speak up just a little bit, but I got you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just listening to you with having that conversation with Travis earlier, and I think I kind of know what he's getting at. You know, it's not so much of everybody's focused on revenge and stuff like that. We need to kind of fix this affordability issue and, you know, get some more money in our pockets and more easier to buy houses and stuff like that. I think two things is what we need to see coming into the midterms that would completely win the Republicans. One, I think January the 1st, we're going to replace the Fed chair, and I think we're going to see interest rates go down. I don't know how much, but I think that's going to help a lot, depending on who gets in there and how much they can do. But also affordability, man, is the biggest thing. Is, you know, inflation has gone up since Biden, and we're seeing it come down a little bit, but not that much.
I mean, peak inflation under Biden was at like 9%. We're right around 2.8, I believe, the last I saw, 2.8% inflation. I mean, are prices still high? Yes. Are they rising at the rate that they were under Biden? Not at all. I mean, not even close.
Right. So we're seeing that come down. But when it comes to raising the pay for everybody, you know, increase in income, I think that's what we're going to have to see if these red states and these people that are trying to get in these elected positions and we're trying to win the midterms. They need to be talking about raising the wages, you know, across their states and across their and cutting taxes on these businesses, because the only thing that's kind of in between the people and the market is the privately owned businesses and the big corporations. So if we can cut their taxes just a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, give them some more break, and then raise wages up everywhere, it'll make it a whole lot more affordable with that interest rate coming down, you know, to buy houses and cars or anything like that.
I would say that's also a ripple out on immigration, man. When you have foreigners coming into this country competing against Americans and undercutting their wages, that's a huge driver behind that. And then those foreigners send half their paycheck out of the country, so we don't even feel that in the economy. So I mean, like there's a huge issue there that could be fixed by not just limiting illegal immigration, but legal immigration as well. And I think that's a conversation that a lot of young people want to have. Can we put a pause on immigration in general? Like a blanket pause for 1 year, 2 years. So that way we can kind of get our oxygen mask on in this country, get our feet back on solid ground, and then go, okay, where are the holes that are truly needed to be filled? Like,
100%.
Can we give ourselves a clearer picture? Because the way we're doing it right now, it's not helping the majority of Americans. It's hurting them.
100%. My second thing on this, going into the midterms, main focus, this is what we always hear. Even when we're little kids, every election cycle, we always hear about Medicaid, Medicare, insurance, you know, how much better it is, how worse it is. All right. Now we're dealing with the Obamacare stuff, okay? So Trump is so good at putting teams together and putting people together in each market, in each field. I kind of think he already has a team, but if he doesn't, he needs to get some of those Doge guys, some medical professionals. He needs to create a complete new team, and they need to create a complete new insurance, you know, Trump care or something like that. Call it whatever you want. They need to create something new. Let this Obamacare crash and go away, but make it more affordable. The premiums are easier. And that, with an average working American, the wages going up a little bit, the businesses getting a break, and the health care issue coming down and being fixed, that would win it. And I think that would put us on track to recovery in a fast way.
And I agree with a lot of those points. I would just say, why can't we go after corrupt elected officials at the exact same time?
We can. I'm all for that. I'm 100% for that. Crack the whip as many times as you want to on them fools because they need it.
Hey, I hear you, man, and I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986. Jason in Shelbyville. What's up, Jason?
Hey, man, just got a question on your thoughts. I don't know how to phrase it really, but I just got a thought I want your opinion on. What if the DOJ isn't really making all these arrests? They're just kind of keeping all the cards in their back pocket, waiting to see how the midterms shake out. My thought here is that if they start making a bunch of arrests, possibly they might turn off a big share of the voter base. I'd like to think not. I'd like to see some arrests, but I'm thinking possibly.
Is your thought process that they're waiting until after the midterms to arrest officials, or that they're waiting until right before midterms?
I'm thinking maybe after or right before, but my thought is if they wait until after, they can, even if they win, they win. If we lose the House and Senate, then they can start coming down with the hammer. I don't know.
My only thought with that is if they win the House and Senate, then we're like marred in impeachment after impeachment after impeachment, and that's going to be the route that we're going. And then I don't know I don't know. I shudder to think what happens if we don't win the midterms.
If we don't win the midterms, then Blondie can maybe start coming down with the arrests.
Yeah, I would just say, what are we waiting for? We've been saying the same thing since Trump term 1. You know what I mean? How much longer do we have to wait?
Here's my thing. Every time I've doubted Trump, I've been proved wrong. So I'm hoping I'm proved wrong.
I'm in the same boat on a lot of those things. I would just say, what are we waiting for? It's time. It is time. One of the reasons that I thought Trump was the better choice over DeSantis was because you didn't have to govern the same way because you're not keeping an eye towards reelection. And I think that was one of the key reasons why he didn't go after Hillary Clinton in his first term. And she was the first lady, and I kind of understand his thought process there. But I think he wanted to get reelected. Okay, well, you don't have to get reelected now. So what are we doing? Can we hold these people accountable? I think that all of the ingredients are there to do it. They just need to pull the trigger.
Absolutely. My thoughts as well. I'm just kind of trying to play the long game, have some hopium maybe.
I hear you, brother. I hear you, man. And I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986. We always get a full squad here. We got Mason producing. We got Ken in the newsroom. Jones in the newsroom half the day, too. I'm blessed by the team I have, but I'm way more blessed by you guys. And you guys are the most important part of the show. So thank you for your phone calls, for your texts, for jumping in on the YouTube chat. We appreciate you. 1051 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hit like and subscribe, by the way. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You hear me talking about these guys all the time. And we're getting to that time of year where we're starting to think about what we're thankful for. I'm thankful for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. $12 is going to land you a full exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and your first treatment to get you back to pain-free life. And once you're back to that pain-free life, you're going to be pretty thankful as well, because they're not going to give you painful injections. It's not going to be surgery with a recovery process, and they're not going to get you hooked on opioids. No. You're going to get back to a pain-free life with non-surgical spinal decompression, with robot lasers, with anti-gravity machines, no surgery, no injections, no painkillers. And it's not going to break the bank. The Big Daddy Trump special is going on right now, just $12. Grab your MRI. Get ready to finally understand your condition and fix it. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they want to hear from you. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or find them online, painisbad.com.
All right, drivers, we've got some traffic lights out in the area of Lebanon, Highway 109 at Leeville Pike. Now, something else I'm seeing right now is a very big backup going eastbound on 40 from 840 there in Lebanon. That could have something to do with the traffic lights. Maybe people backed up, getting off on those secondary roads and the traffic lights out. But 40 eastbound is extremely slow going. It is bumper to bumper from 840. And then we have a traffic light issue there in the Lebanon area. Traffic lights out, specifically Highway 109 at Leeville Pike. Got some news on the jobs picture coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it's not every day that Ken Weaver runs out of music while he's going through all the traffic issues out there on the road. Why don't you should do what you did that one time. One time Ken got on for his news tease and he went, "It's bad, boys, it's bad." And I was like, what the hell is going on? I freaked out. I went to Twitter. I'm like, what is happening, Ken? He's like, "It's just traffic, Chris." I was like, oh, you scared me. You scared the hell out of me. Ken Weaver's in the newsroom. Headlines on the way. Josh Tifo is in studio. Normally we do Tifo Tuesdays, but we're doing it on a Thursday today.
So it makes it Tifo Thursday.
It's Tifo Thursday.
We got to keep the audience on their toes.
Branding and alliteration matters. How do we win over Gen Z and millennial voters on the way to midterms? That's kind of been the big topic of conversation today.
Well, we need to follow through on our promises to make life affordable and make the American dream achievable. We won in 2024 essentially on a promissory note. And Charlie Kirk pioneered this messaging. He convinced a generation that the American dream could become achievable again under Donald Trump. And the core of that is home ownership. If we do not find a way to make home ownership an achievable dream for these based Gen Z 22-year-olds who are getting married and want to have a bunch of kids, then we will lose them. Not we might lose them, we will lose them.
And I think it's important to point out, we're not going to lose them to Democrats. We're just going to lose them in general. They're not going to vote for anybody. They're going to sit it out. What do you see when you see Donald Trump's messaging on H-1B visas? How does that affect Gen Z and millennials? And is he hearing what the chatter is?
It's not an ideal situation, and I respect Donald Trump, and I trust him, and I know that he is making the best deals he can with various countries. There are a lot of trade deals that are still pending across the world. But why on earth would we create any sort of mechanism or grow any sort of mechanism that brings foreign labor into the United States when we don't even have enough great jobs for Americans? And this is before the AI revolution continues to optimize the economy and eliminate even more jobs. That's something that there's no room for. There's no room for in our movement.
I'm with you 100%. And I'm not against bringing in good talent, right? If you're bringing in talent to a factory where they're going to train Americans and Americans will eventually replace them, I think that's great. But when you see 80% of the H-1B visas are going to entry-level jobs, and you hear the horror stories of Americans training their replacement who came in from a different country, who's then going to send half of his salary out of the country, that's not a recipe for success.
Well, it's a recipe for us losing in 26 and losing in 28 and losing for a very long time. I look at the reprieve God granted us politically in 2024, and we're in a fragile situation. We won on the promissory note, being that we convinced Gen Z that the American dream would be achievable. And we need to be aggressively incentivizing home builders to build as many homes as we can, especially kind of low to mid-cost housing. Yes. We also should just flat out make it illegal for these private equity companies, some of them even international, coming in and mass buying the entry-level homes to create a nation of renters. And I know we went off on that last week, but you have to treat this like a national emergency and a political emergency for the Republican Party. We will lose young America for a generation if we win this historic election and we don't follow through on those basic promises to make the American dream affordable.
Josh Tifo's in studio. He's the senior director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. We'll have more with Josh when we return. Right now, headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. What you want to go over?
11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, drivers, we've got traffic lights out in the Lebanon area, specifically Highway 109 at Leeville Pike. And then, like I told you, there is a massive backup right now going eastbound on 40 right before you get to Lebanon, or rather in between Highway 109 and Lebanon. I mean, that is backed up quite a bit, and it is coming to a complete stop right there at 231 if you are eastbound 40. The jobs picture before the government shutdown was stronger than expected, and that is anticipated. According to the latest jobs report from the Labor Department, September's report has finally been released, and we get more from ABC's Alexis Christoforous.
This report, first of all, is out 7 weeks late. And now that we finally have it, we realize the job market was in much better shape than we thought heading into that historic government shutdown. So we were expecting 50,000 jobs to be added. We got more than double that, 119,000 jobs. The unemployment rate at 4.4%. It is the highest level in 4 years. But the rate went up sort of, I guess, for the right reasons, because more people were out there actively looking for work, which means that they were then counted among the unemployed.
More on the economy. Rebecca Jarvis says some retailers like Walmart reported earnings in line with expectations, while others say sales are slowing.
At the same time, we've heard some weakness from retailers like Home Depot, Lowe's, and Target, who have all reported weaker expectations for the time going forward. And that's because they say of the uncertainty facing the consumer. There is one thing that is clearly booming here on Wall Street, and that is artificial intelligence. The company NVIDIA reporting stronger than anticipated earnings overnight.
Here's some money news. The TSA is poised to enact a new rule that would charge a fee to anyone traveling without a real ID. The fee would cover additional biometric screening that the traveler would have to have in order to get past security checkpoints. The fee, $18, would be valid for a 10-day period. It's set to start in January. We get more from ABC's Jay O'Brien at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport.
A real ID is either a state-issued driver's license or another form of valid government identification that's gone through federal security standards. It usually has a star in the corner of the license to denote that. The TSA calling this just the latest step in real ID compliance, something that they've been trying to do for decades. This law was signed more than 20 years ago.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us. Super Talk TV is up and running. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. I'll even take a dislike. It tickles the algo. So, but only do it if you really, truly dislike the show. Appreciate it. You can do that. We're in studio with Josh Tifo. Tifo Thursday today. We usually do Tifo Tuesdays, but we're doing Tifo Thursday.
I mean, it's still an alliteration, but it doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't flow the same.
We should switch to Tuesday next week. We're going back to Tuesday.
We're going back to Tuesday. We're not going to do this anymore. But today's Erica Kirk's birthday.
It is, and I got to tell you a story about Erica. So I met Erica in 2018, right after Charlie and Erica started dating. And this is the power of who she is as a woman, and this is the power of her character. When she started dating Charlie, he immediately became a more joyful person. I mean, this is just how it was in the early days. We're just traveling all over the place on 3-4 planes a day. And Charlie and I had a lot of fun. We'd play basketball if we had some time before a speaking event. After the event, we'd go out and get wings and watch college football. College football was a big bonding thing for us. He just loved college football. Yeah. And then I met Brenna, and he met Erica, and we never really had free time to hang out because he wanted to be with Erica and I wanted to be with Brenna. And that's how it's supposed to be. And he became notably more joyful. So he always had that aggressive, hard edge that made him so effective as a radio host, so effective as a political operator. But he had that hard edge combined with this gentleness and the self-control the more Erica influenced him. God really used Erica to make Charlie the man who completely transformed culture in his 31 years here on this earth. And I appreciate Erica so much. Erica, if you see this, happy birthday. We love you.
Yeah, happy birthday, Erica. So it's funny that you brought that up because you brought it up during the commercial break. And I had just come across this Charlie clip last night where he was talking about men and their wedding day. But it's full circle because we're talking about Gen Z and millennial voters and how they need to get married. They need to be able to buy homes and have families to feel like they have a stake in this country. But I came across this clip and I wanted to play it for you since you're in here. This is Charlie talking about most men on their wedding day.
There's a reason why the dress for the man is the same at a wedding and a funeral, because you're saying goodbye to your previous self. The woman is the icon, the symbol of beauty, almost always in all white, right? Ascendant. The man is usually in black and white, like he's attending somebody's death, because it is his death. No, but think about it. It's the death of the bachelor mindset. It's the death of promiscuity. It's the death of the wandering eye. It's the death of immoral behavior. It's the death of texting girls casually. It's the death of I get to do what I want to do. It's the death of just going to the bar with friends. It's the death of acting like an infant. It's the death of playing video games till 1 a.m. And it's the birth of a man.
So just instant reaction from that clip. And how do we get more younger voters to embrace that lifestyle, to get married, to have families, to have that stake in the country?
So the big step that needs to happen in the heart of every young man who wants that reward, who wants a beautiful wife, who wants wonderful kids, who wants to reach that next level, they have to fully surrender their life to Jesus Christ. You don't get married and then magically stop wanting to play video games until 1 a.m., magically stop wanting to get drunk with your friends, magically stop wanting to go out until 11 p.m. and watch college football at the bar instead of coming home and hanging out with your family. If you surrender your life to God before that, then you can become the type of man that the woman you want to marry is looking for. That's the big deal. And I love Pastor Joby Martin talks about this all the time. He's a great guy. I'm in the middle of one of his new books. He talks often to young men about how instead of just wanting to marry an amazing, wonderful, godly woman, you need to become the man that she is looking for. It kind of reminds me of what we talked about, I think it was last week, about the roots of feminism.
Yeah.
It's easy to blame women for all of the problems feminism has caused in society. Modern day feminism only happened because there were so many unimpressive men in the generation before me, but largely in my generation. Why are there so many 32-year-old modern-day leftist feminist women in America? Because most 32-year-old men are not that impressive. I'm seeing a very different thing with Gen Z. I talked to a typical 30-year-old and a typical 20-year-old, and the 20-year-old is more mature. The 30-year-old is probably talking about how much he loves whiskey, and he's talking about DraftKings or some type of other addiction-based behavior. And do you know what the 20-year-olds walk up to me and ask? It happened this morning when I was picking up breakfast. I was with my kids at a place in Hendersonville. And one of the guys working there, he kind of knows who I am and knows that I have some knowledge in the health space. And he walked up to me and he just started asking me questions about how he can be healthier, how he can be more fit, how can he be a better man. I've never had a 30-year-old walk up to me and ask that, but a 20-year-old did this morning. I am seeing a huge rift between Gen Z and millennial men in the way that they behave. And that is the reason why the whole trad wife thing is becoming so much more popular with Gen Z women. Because think about it. If you grow up and a lot of the men around you seem marriable, does feminism seem all that attractive? I mean, does becoming a lonely 52-year-old lawyer in a penthouse seem all that attractive? No, it doesn't. But that is the default life path that many women go on when they've never dated, let alone talked to a man who they see as marriable.
Interesting. What would you tell the guy who says, you know, I do want that relationship with Jesus, but my life's a mess. I'm drinking every night. You know, I'm smoking pot. I have this porn addiction. I'm not worthy of that relationship. I'm not ready for that relationship. What do you tell a guy like that?
So I want to tell you a story about what happened right before Jesus died. So Jesus died on a cross with two men on each side, one of them who defied him and insulted him, and another man who, and we don't know too much about the backstory, but if you're being crucified, you probably committed a pretty bad crime. So it was unjust what they did to Jesus, but the two guys to the sides of him probably did pretty bad things. And the guy who wasn't mocking him looked over and essentially repented of his sins and asked God to remember him when he entered into his kingdom. He expressed his belief in Jesus as the Messiah, and he was saved that day, and he went to heaven with Jesus that day, which had to be a wild experience. Let me tell you the order of things. It is a lie in American culture that you need to clean up your life in order to then go to church and become a great man. Jesus is ready to help you clean up your life right now. The first step is confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead and you will be saved. And when that happens, in that moment, God justifies you. The Holy Spirit possesses you. Think of it like a lot of the horror movies you see. Like we think of the word possession and we're like, oh, like demonic possession, and they're levitating from the floor. When you surrender your life to Jesus, the Bible says that in that moment, the Holy Spirit possesses your heart. And all of a sudden, quitting porn and quitting drinking, treating people differently, not playing video games till 2 a.m., that is a much easier battle to win. Each one of those is a much easier battle to win because God is possessing your heart, and there's something pulling you to make you want to go in that direction. I don't know if you've ever read Atomic Habits. Very fascinating book. It's the book that probably best illustrates the psychological process you go to as you build life-giving habits and crush life-taking habits. It's kind of like playing Sorry. You ever play Sorry with your kids?
Yep.
So you know how you go all the way around the board and you get to the little tower and like finally no one can attack you? You can get habits in your life, especially moral habits, to the point where you get it all the way around and you're kind of in that tower. So what's the best way not to cheat on your wife? Become the type of man who never wants to. And God can bring you to that place. So don't believe the lie that you have to clean up your life and then come to Jesus. Jesus is waiting for you to surrender your life so that he can help you clean up your life so that you can become the type of man that the woman of your dreams wants to marry. I mean, think about what the Bible says about roles within marriage. As men, we're supposed to give ourselves up like Christ gave himself up for the church, and then our wives are supposed to submit to us. Why on earth would a godly woman want to enter into marriage and submit to a man who can't even lead himself? So you got to start leading yourself first. You got to stop drinking a lot. I mean, the Bible lets you do it a little bit, but you got to stop getting drunk. You need to stop smoking weed. You need to stop playing video games until 2 a.m. and start laying those foundational habits in your life that can make you a great man. And that's how you will attract a great woman, and together you can build a great legacy.
So for the guys out there that don't have that yet, who are just completely black-pilled, what's the message to them, especially, as we're trying to get them activated, we're trying to continue to save this country. Trump has been great, but he's been a tourniquet, right? We've stopped the bleeding, but we do need the heart change to really change the country. What's the message to young men as we head towards the midterms?
So the message politically to young men is that, are you talking individually or more like the broad, like what should an ad look like?
Yeah, no, I'm talking more like that one-to-one conversation. Like if you're going out there and you're just a regular guy off the street and you're talking to somebody who's like, oh, why would I vote for them? They're awful. Or why would I vote for this? Like the black pill doomer who the nothing is going to change kind of guy.
So the message needs to be, and we're not stretching anything, this is completely true, Donald Trump is fighting tooth and nail every day for the American people. He is one by one negotiating unilateral trade deals with nations that before he did this had terms where they got to flood our market with their goods and we didn't even have access to their market. So Trump is doing the work to strengthen the American economy, not just artificially inflate it with Fed policy, but he needs to put more emphasis on making it easier for young Americans to buy homes. That's just the reality. I have a lot of friends in the home building industry. I don't know how that happened, just like friends of the family and people I met through Turning Point and everything. And these people call me all the time and they're like, we want Donald Trump to do more to incentivize the whole industry to build more homes for these people.
Well, that's one of the things I'll see. And I know a lot of guys that build homes and they're great guys, but they're building like $5 million homes.
Well, that's where a lot of the money is.
$2 million homes. How do we make it so that way it's profitable for those guys to build the, $200,000 starter home, the $300,000 home?
So the single biggest step we can make that alleviates almost all the economic problems on the supply side and on the buy side, we have to drastically drop interest rates in the country. So the interest rate is way too high. And I know that Trump has tried to pressure the Fed to get that done. The federal funds rate is just way too high. Inflation has considerably cooled. Trump has done a great job of managing the economy in that way. There is absolutely no reason why the Fed funds rate should be as high as it is right now. That is the single monetary policy item that would change everything overnight, and you would see all of a sudden a huge chunk of Gen Z be able to afford homes. And you would also see an economic situation where a lot of the home builders would be incentivized to build some of those low to mid-level entry homes. And also I want to talk about something that I hear often. I hear a lot of people, even in Tennessee, especially in Tennessee, talk about how they don't like a lot of these neighborhoods that don't have really big yards. And they're like, oh, I only want my town to have like the really nice houses. Well, we got to build the starter home somewhere because, do we want these Gen Z families all growing up on top of each other in apartments within that culture? We want people to at least have a starting point. So, no, we shouldn't build little postage stamp houses with postage stamp yards, but you can't just demand for your town to only have luxury neighborhoods. I think that it's very important that we provide a way for a 22, 23-year-old Gen Z family who are listening to what the Bible says, listening to what Charlie talked about all the time, and they get married young, they want to have more kids than they can afford. That's amazing, but they need a home. They need a home that is their own. Also, that makes them dramatically more likely to be civically and politically engaged. Here is how we end up in the nightmare situation where there's somebody like Mamdani who's president of the United States. We failed to do this, and we won the election essentially with the promissory note that we would make it affordable for for Gen Z to obtain the American dream, and then we just don't. Our movement will be completely crushed, and you will see America descend into Marxism in one political cycle.
Which is a scary thought, but it's a political reality. We're in studio with Josh Tifo. He's a senior director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. I want to talk a little bit more about Mamdani on the way. He's coming to the White House on Friday, tomorrow. He's coming tomorrow to meet with President Trump. I want to get your prediction on what that meeting looks like, and then we'll discuss, broader political trends as well. Josh Tifo's in studio. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Dan over at Cabinet Makeovers. If you need to make an investment in your home, do it with a company that is family-owned. Do it with a company with experience, 45 years in the game, and do it with a company where everything they're doing is guided with biblical values and Tennessee-made. We did it in my house. Pull-out cabinets, pull-out pantry. It's unbelievable. My wife loves them. I love them. But every cabinet, every pull-out, every drawer, all wood construction, full extension, soft close glides. The craftsmanship is top-notch, and that's what you get when you go with a company that's been doing it for 45 years. Family-owned, biblical values. It really is what makes them special. When Dan came over to my house, he didn't just install cabinets. He turned it into a homeschool lesson, which I loved. He let the kids turn the screwdriver. He's talking to the kids about Jesus. This is the kind of faith-based business you want to spend your money with. They don't stop at kitchens. Cabinet Makeovers will do custom closets, pantry, cabinetry for every room in your house, and they do a great job. So if you need to make the investment in your home, consider Cabinet Makeovers, 615-331-7010, 615-331-7010. And if I didn't sell you on them, the pictures online will, cabinetmakeoverstn.com.
Because you know what? I'm going to say the same damn thing that I said when Joe Biden won the election. I said Democrats are going to do what Democrats are going to do. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to be so abhorrent that there's going to be this huge shift away from the Democrats and away from Democrat rule, which is exactly what they did during the presidency of Joe Biden. So then guess what happened? Donald Trump was ushered in yet again. If I could find like a hot tub time machine, I would go a year and a half from right now forward and see what happens to New York, because it's going to be a train wreck.
Drivers, we got a lot in the way out there. Lebanon, we've got a crash. This is what's causing the backup on 40 eastbound. This crash is 40 eastbound just past Lebanon at exit 238. It is stop and go starting at I-40. Goodlettsville, a crash. 65 northbound at Long Hollow Pike. Whites Creek, right lane blocked by a crash. Briley Parkway westbound before Clarksville Pike. And also a traffic light issue slowing things down Highway 109 at Leeville Pike there in Lebanon. Former Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral is today, and it's underway. We'll get a report from that coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Josh Tifo's in studio, Senior Director for Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA. What's up, Josh?
Having a lot of fun. Tifo Thursday, shaking it up this week.
We're shaking things up. It's going to be shooken up at the White House. You like that? That's a radio segue. That's a pro radio segue. Things are going to be shooken up at the White House tomorrow. A communist is being invited into the Oval Office. Maybe you've heard of him, Zoran Mamdani.
Here is what we stand for, my friends. We are going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. and use every resource at our disposal to build housing for everyone who needs it. We are going to eliminate the fare on every single bus line and make what are currently the slowest buses in the nation move around this city with ease.
That's not going to happen.
And we are going to create universal child care at no cost to parents.
A lot of promises.
So New Yorkers can raise their family in the city they love. Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... We will make our city one where every person who calls it home can live a dignified life.
So he's making a lot of promises there. He goes on to say that there's no problem that the government can't solve, no problem too big, no problem too small. The promises aside, is he doing what every communist does, replacing God with the government?
He is, and you go a little bit deeper into that speech, and he actually has a rant where you could replace the word government with God, and it's almost like a pastor giving a sermon. So it's wild how he understands the problems that are in society, but tries to bring an entirely different solution. Sidebar, something I didn't think I was going to talk about at all. Hilarious children's book written by Jack Posobiec called The Island of Free Ice Cream.
Oh.
It's all about these wolves who show up and they promise them all this free stuff, namely free ice cream. They take over everything and then people starve or whatever. And the wolves who show up to try to take political control of the island, they give a speech promising free stuff that sounds hauntingly similar to the clip you just played. So for all of you parents out there, get The Island of Free Ice Cream by Jack Posobiec, one of the funniest kids' books you'll ever see.
Yep.
But this is what Marxists do time and time and time and time again. But there's an important element to this that we need to point out. What were we just talking about in the last segment? We were talking about how we need to find a way to provide for the free market to provide affordable housing for Gen Z families. If that problem is not adequately fixed by the free market, then the Marxists will use it to seize control and pretend to fix it with the government. So has there been a situation in American history where government rent control policies ended up as a good thing for renters?
Not that I can recall.
You have a horrific supply problem almost every time. So that whole thing's going to become a mess. The one part of that, though, that's going to be the funniest will be him taking over the bus system and making it all free and then saying that when he does that, it's going to make it better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that we'll have even more people. They're probably going to do a worse job maintaining it. And we're going to have a future where Uber and Lyft are the big beneficiaries there. They're just going to have to really beef up everything because the bus system's going to become a total mess.
Do parents even want to raise kids in New York right now?
I mean, they're fleeing whenever they can, and I feel bad for the ones who have jobs tied to the city and they have to stay there. I feel even worse for the lifelong New Yorkers, many of them who've been there several generations. These people, you look at the numbers, almost all of the born and raised New Yorkers did not vote for Mamdani. So the people who elected Mamdani were the people who moved in the last 5-10 years, high-level corporate jobs, high-level legal jobs, high-level education jobs, and they just showed up and politically hijacked the city. So it would be really depressing to be a born and raised New Yorker and just watch this Venezuelan-style socialism take control of the city that you love so much. That's part of the fabric of your family.
Well, this is one of the points I made right after the election. I said, New York didn't fall. New Yorkers were replaced. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that's what they're trying to do all over the country. And it goes back to the affordability. It goes back to the illegal immigration and legal immigration to a certain extent, and how we need that limited to help the affordability crisis. Let's talk a little bit more about that on the way. Josh Tifo is in studio. Tifo Thursdays. It doesn't flow the same as Tifo Tuesdays, but we're having a good time regardless. 11:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Oh, yeah, love it.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We got some heavy rain out here in Middle Tennessee. It might be adding to our traffic issues. Just picked up a crash in Donaldson. It is blocking the right lane of Briley Parkway there at Elm Hill Pike. Then Whites Creek got a crash, right lane blocked, Briley Parkway before Clarksville Pike. And in Burns, Tennessee, Dixon Crash reported 40 westbound just past I-840. Goodlettsville got a crash now, 65 northbound at Long Hollow Pike. That is stop and go starting at Old Hickory Boulevard. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Former Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral is today. President Trump, as well as Vice President Vance, were not invited. Former President George W. Bush and former President Biden, along with former Vice President Kamala Harris, they're in attendance. Here's Karen Travers.
If you look at who is there in the Washington National Cathedral, it's a who's who of the Republican Party before the era of Donald Trump, which is a very different era here in Washington, D.C. To see President George W. Bush sitting there with former President Biden and their spouses, Kamala Harris there as well. It's so significant to think about what this town looked like and how different things were before the Trump administration. And there is no love lost between the Trumps and the Cheneys.
Well, the jobs picture before the government shutdown was stronger than anticipated, according to the latest jobs report from the Labor Department. September's report has finally been released, and it showed that 119,000 jobs were added that month. That's up from only 50,000 that were expected. Unemployment rate inched upwards to 4.4%. Job gains over the summer months were revised downward by 30,000. Here's more from ABC's Alexis Christoforous on whether the Federal Reserve will vote to cut interest rates at their December meeting.
They're going in with an incomplete picture of the job market because they're going to get only half the October report. We're not going to get an unemployment rate for October because the government was unable to collect that data because of the shutdown. We're going to get the November report, but that report is going to come out after their meeting. And we already know we have a divided Fed. We got minutes from their last meeting yesterday, which showed that most Fed officials are not in favor of cutting interest rates next month. And in fact, one Fed official who's going to vote in that meeting came out today and said another interest rate cut risks prolonged inflation.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you need health insurance, but you don't want to get raked over the coals. You don't want to pay too much. You don't want to feel like it's a math test when you're looking at your bill. You don't want to be surprised by the fine print. Let's make it simple. Cover Nash has a brand new nationwide PPO plan that's going to give you the freedom to pick your own doctor anywhere in the U.S. No referrals, no red tape, just a $250 deductible, flat $50 copays for doctors, even specialists. You got an outpatient surgery, $250 copay. Hospital stays, $1,000 total. Free preventative care. And here's the kicker, no surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. Now, that might not be the best plan for you. Maybe you need something else. Here's the thing. Shane works with 75 other top-rated companies. So no matter what your budget is or what your needs are, they can find something that fits for you. All you got to do is pick up the phone. Shane is sitting at his desk right now, and he's willing to take your call. 615-465-0023, 615-465-0023, or you can find him online, covernash.com. That's covernash.com. It's 11:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere, iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can find us on YouTube and Rumble. The show is there live, Super Talk TV. Hit like and subscribe. Josh Tifo is in studio. Tifo Thursdays. I almost said Tifo Tuesday because it just rolls off the tongue, but it's Tifo Thursday today. How we doing, Josh?
Doing great. I think it's hilarious that Mom Donnie is going to be in the White House on Friday. We should get some great content there. With Trump, you never know how he's going to handle these things. It could be a very entertaining day.
Do you think we're going to get J.D. Vance knife hands saying, why don't you say thank you for all of the things that this country has given you?
I really hope so. That'd be amazing. JD is one of my favorite people. I was with him the other day. And my favorite thing about JD is he has that same doesn't feel like a politician ethos that Trump has. That was the same feeling I got when I met Trump for the first time way back in the day. And you look at the political situation we're in, it's a it's a steep climb. It's going to be tough to convince a lot of low prop voters who vote once every 20 years to come out for JD after they came out for Trump for the first time ever in 2024. But it's possible if we deliver on our core promises, which what is the number one core promise of the Trump era?
Affordability, right? Or
we're focused on that a lot now,
securing
the border, immigration, 110%.
See, that it starts to feel like an afterthought, though, because the border got so controlled so quickly that you almost forget that was the biggest issue heading into the election. I mean, when you look at the rates of border crossings and how they were in the hundreds of thousands, and now it's like 6,000.
And thank God we solved that problem. But now there's a problem as a result of that. There's still tens of millions of illegals in this country we need to get out. We're doing a great job of getting them out quickly, but we need to continue the pressure on that. And yes, affordability matters a lot. Trump's political focus on that right now is wise. But may we not forget what you and I talked about at length last week. AI is going to optimize the economy in such a way that we could have half as many jobs in the corporate American economy in 10 years. So what is the first thing you do? You get the illegals out who are here. What's the second thing that you do? I mean, as crazy as it sounds, Chip Moore may be right. Maybe we need to hard freeze all legal immigration. Here's my dream. My dream is that we have a merit-based immigration system where you can only get in this country if you can make the pitch to the United States that you bring considerable value. Are you an Olympian? Are you a brain surgeon? Are you going to bring a lot of investment capital? I'm all for that. If you are going to bring something to the table, then I want you to be an American. But if we are not going to have enough jobs for the people who are already Americans, why on earth would we let anybody else in right now?
And I think that's going to be a big issue moving forward. Chip Roy did say that he's going to introduce a bill that would freeze all immigration legal. And he said this the other day on the Benny Johnson show.
I've got a bill that I'm going to be introducing this week or next. We've had to wait because of the shutdown nonsense. That is a freeze on all immigration. Freeze it until we achieve certain objectives, reforming things like chain migration and diversity and H-1B, ending H-1B, getting birthright citizenship dealt with, ending, for example, Plyler v. Doe, which says that you have to educate illegal alien children. Go down the list of things. For example, my bill that says you got to vet people for their adherence to Sharia law. Why are we importing any human being that is adherent to Sharia law, which is totally contrary to the Constitution and our values in Western civilization? So my point is, we can amend that bill and people can have ideas, but I'm going to introduce a bill as a framework to say, why don't we just freeze immigration entirely?
Why don't we just freeze immigration entirely? You know, he mentioned Plyler v. Doe, which says that we have to educate these kids even if they're not here legally. But then you see what's happening in North Carolina, Operation Charlotte's Web, right? Where they had, on the Monday after the operation started, 21,000 kids in one school district not show up. Now, the assumption is that all of these children are illegal aliens. When you game that out, it's $14,400 to educate one student in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District, which is where all the absences were. If you game that out, that's $300 million plus a year for just one school district in America. That is bananas.
And it shows you that there really are tens of millions of illegal immigrants here. You know what would be a great Band-Aid on the low to mid-cost housing situation? Deport all of them. Yes, we need to build a lot more. Yes, we need to drop interest rates. But you know what would be a tremendous blessing is if tens of millions of illegal immigrants were not living in those houses anymore.
Supply and demand.
And just the immediate supply and demand factor would allow a lot of young families to be able to buy, they'd be able to buy a new home tomorrow. You could move out of your downtown Nashville apartment into a home you would love. Your dog would have a yard. Your kids would be able to run around in a neighborhood. That is what we could have if we could effectively deport almost all the illegal immigrants in this country.
On the pausing legal immigration, you know this government pretty well. You know the players. Does that get off the ground?
It might, because
there was a bit of Josh hesitation there.
So Donald Trump has balls of steel, but there aren't a lot of other people in the American government or American history who are as aggressive and I'm looking for a term better than ballsy. I'm just going to say it. It's going to be tough to find somebody as ballsy as Donald Trump who's going to want to do that other than him. And Chip Roy's one of those guys. I like Chip a lot. He's a good friend at Turning Point. But the corporate pressure that will immediately fall on virtually everyone in the entire political system, Republicans, Democrats, independents, because these corporations, they absolutely love the cheap labor of illegal immigrants. And I want to go on a little bit of a rant about that. If your business can only do well if you are hiring illegal immigrants, a lot of them hiring them below minimum wage, paying them under the table, then your business sucks. Like if I'm making you mad, I don't care. If you are dependent on slave labor in order to do well, like I have no patience for you. You need to build a business that employs Americans or do the work, build the tech, make it a heavy AI robotics optimized factory. But if you need illegal immigrants to turn a profit, then your business sucks, and I don't care if you fail.
But there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to feel pressure from the donor class that own these businesses, that want this immigration in here. What's the balance, and what kind of pressure do we need to put on our elected officials to sway them to listen to the constituents rather than the donors?
So first, I want to tell a little bit of a story about what I saw from Charlie, what I learned from Charlie over the last 11 years. Charlie Kirk did not care at all about donor pressure. In fact, he was a little bit of a rebel. If a donor was pressuring him to do something, it actually made him more tempted to do it, which we had to deal with that sometimes. But
there's a lot of evidence for that out
Charlie
there.
Charlie was a cowboy, and we loved him for it. The best way to build respect and power in politics is to not care about donor pressure. Because guess what? If a billionaire calls you and demands something and you stand up to him, he's going to respect you more. So the problem is most Republican politicians do not have that spine. And when some big corporation says, we're going to put $1 million into a PAC to primary you next cycle if you back this, it would be devastating for our quarterly earnings, then you need those John Wayne style leaders who are going to be like, that's cool, goodbye. Charlie Kirk was that man. Donald Trump's that man. Chip Roy's that man. That's not a lot of the House. I mean, I wish that it was. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe this will get some real play. But you need to have that alpha male, alpha woman energy when big business is pressuring you to do something that is not in the interests of the American people. And I hope and pray that we have more politicians who are willing to do that.
How many do you think that we have that are willing to do that? I mean, you mentioned Trump, you mentioned Roy. Where does the list go from there?
There are a few dozen House members who I'd say have that energy, and maybe a dozen senators. I could be kind of generous there.
And then it kind of falls off.
And a lot of and you look at the Turning Point Action scorecard. We have an amazing scorecard that individually ranks every vote and essentially says, does this stand by rock solid conservative principles or did they sell us out? I love it. tpaction.com/scorecard. Why do way more than a dozen have pretty solid ratings? Because these people go wherever the wind blows. So if somebody's not a John Wayne, Charlie Kirk style, stand against the hordes as they attack politician, somebody who's not going to care if a Fortune 500 CEO calls him and yells at him, then what do? If they go wherever the wind blows, then the grassroots needs to be the wind that blows stronger. We need to blow stronger than the corporate lobbyist class. And that's one thing that the grassroots doesn't always do a great job of. One way that the grassroots hamstrings themselves in Tennessee and beyond is we focus more on some type of purity test than backing the best possible politician we can to get the job done. The one thing that was like nails on a chalkboard to me was when it looked like some of the establishment people were going to back Marsha Blackburn once it became inevitable that she's going to win. From everything I've heard, Trump loves her. She has one of the best Turning Point Action scorecard ratings ever. I mean, when someone like that runs, like that's a big gift for us as the grassroots. And then immediately what happens? There are grassroots leaders across Tennessee. When people they don't like start supporting her, they're like, oh, she's a sellout. We need somebody else. We don't know who it is, but it can't be her because she's selling out grassroots Tennessee vows. And I'm like, how? And then they pull some rabbit out of the hat like, well, we don't like what she said on January 6th. Well, I don't either, but she was defending Trump like a week later or 2 weeks later in some hearing. I think it was within the month. Don't quote me on the date. But when they tried to impeach him within a month of January 6th, she was on record defending him. So, like, to me, that's all a moot point. Most people were not that courageous on January 6th. But as the grassroots, we need to collectively be the wind that blows politicians harder than the corporate lobbyist class. That's our power.
So we hear grassroots a lot, but it's very rarely defined. When you say grassroots, do you mean Turning Point USA and organizations like that, or do you mean the average guy on Twitter? How would you define the grassroots? And then if you're kind of a guy that wants to get politically active, how do you get involved with the grassroots?
So you actually just defined it accurately in two different ways. It is the everyday guy on Twitter, but Turning Point USA is so powerful because it's millions of the everyday guys on Twitter who have collectively together defined what we want the future of the conservative movement to look like. I mean, the absolute best way that you can get involved in politics at any level is get involved with Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, which you can do at tpusa.com, which you can do at tpaction.com. We have essentially we've become the standard bearer for grassroots politics in the country. And the way that looks as far as the candidates we push needs to be different in different areas. If you're in a deep red state, then you better be putting up a senator or a governor who stands with you on just about every issue. If I'm trying to elect someone in Maine, like, I'm scratching and clawing to elect a moderate. Like, that's the reality. That's why I don't fault Susan Collins too much for some of these votes that I don't love. We have to be pragmatic and essentially push things as far to the right as we can in each state and in each district and in each county and in each city and in each town. Our job as the grassroots is to push things towards liberty as much as we can, but also know what's realistic and what's not.
Interesting. And that's going to be dependent on where you are.
Yeah, and if you're in a deep red area like Tennessee, if Tennessee doesn't have a rock solid, one of the best in the whole country governor or senator, then we should throw him out. Different in Maine, different in Virginia. But here in Tennessee, I mean, this is one of the best states in the entire nation. Like, you walk around and I see freedom shirts all over the place. Just like walking around Tennessee, people are like wearing freedom shirts or making comments on something about Turning Point when they see me at the grocery store. I mean, this is one of the coolest places to live in the entire world. So we should have no patience for politicians who are not courageous. You will courageously stand with the grassroots with constitutional positions for the good of everyday Americans, or we will throw you out. I don't care how rich you are, I will go after you. I don't care how long you've been in office, I will go after you. The grassroots should have no patience for anyone in this state who does not have the courage to stand with everyday Tennesseans, especially as the AI revolution is coming. If we believe that the AI revolution is going to lead to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs disappearing from Tennessee, we should have no patience for any one business owner in this state who is employing illegal aliens and then giving money to some politician to defend it and write it into some bill. I'd say we should go after the business owner legally, and we should throw the politician out of office.
Amen. Josh Tifo's in studio. Josh, how can we keep up with you online as you're running around the country doing all the things that you do?
At Josh Tifo, THIFAULT, at Josh Tifo, THIFAULT, on TikTok, X, and Instagram.
What's the next big thing that you're working on? What's next from you and from Turning Point?
So the huge thing that you'll see a lot in the news is AmFest. So AmFest, December 18th to 21st in Phoenix, will be this larger-than-life, where do we go from here moment in the conservative movement. We'll have 35,000 people there. We'd honestly have a lot more there if the Phoenix Convention Center were bigger. Like, we've well beyond sold out the venue for 4 days of activity. And I bet a lot of activists are going to come hoping to get in and basically gather together outside. It's going to be wild.
That's cool.
So that's going to be a larger than life moment. I hope you come. You should come as my guest.
Yeah. I'm down.
It's going to be pretty wild. So we're putting a lot of work into that. And we have all kinds of other events going on around the country. I'm super excited for events coming up the second week of December. I can share more about soon. We're doing a huge celebration of the Texas Turning Point Partnership and a huge celebration of the Tennessee Turning Point Partnership, which you got to come and cover.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. Tell us a little bit about the Tennessee partnership real quick.
So the governor's office and his team, they've done such a wonderful job partnering with us, and they're going to put together a plan with us with the goal of putting Turning Point chapters on every high school and college in the state. We already have Turning Point chapters on almost every college in the state where we want to be, which is amazing. So where's the runway? It's high school. So I got to give a lot of credit to Joseph Williams, Governor Lee's chief of staff. We're very thankful for the governor's help. But yeah, Joseph Williams, he's just like super fired up about this. He's just like texting me all the time. And I know Speaker Sexton's team is helping with a lot as well. Regardless of where you are within the party in Tennessee, we should all be able to come together and say, you know, it would be a really good idea if we had a Club America chapter on every high school in Tennessee.
Amen.
And on every high school in Tennessee, these kids, they learned about Jesus. They learned about the founding of the country. They learned about capitalism. What a great way to inoculate Tennessee culture from ever going blue again.
One of my favorite things that you say is, you know, as conservatives, we worry about sending our kids off to college and that they'll come back just ridiculous liberals. But imagine if we could have liberals feel the same way about sending their kids to high school.
That's 100% the culture we're creating.
Yeah, they'll come back as conservatives.
And I got to share a little story about that. So the last day I spent with Charlie, I've probably said this on air, but I love it so much. I tell this story all the time. The last day I spent with Charlie, he was super fired up about the idea of putting Club America chapters on. His goal was 20,000. He wanted 20,000, which is maybe 75, 80% of the high schools in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And his goal was to, like you said, create this inverse culture where the leftist parents wake up in the morning and he's like, babe, I had that dream again. I'm afraid that our daughters, she's going to learn about all these toxic, evil values in high school because I know Club America's at her high school. Like that's what I want to create.
Yes.
I want leftist parents to be afraid that their kid's going to become a teenager. That's when they're going to learn about Jesus. That's when they're going to learn about the founding of the country. That's when they're going to learn that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that you should treasure children instead of kill them.
Let's go.
These are the crazy values that we can instill in a generation. And I know that sometimes I've been critical of politicians I don't agree with, and sometimes I praise them. But I have seen just complete support from all of the leadership within the Republican political infrastructure in Tennessee around this idea. So regardless of how I've agreed or disagreed with you in the past, I applaud Governor Lee and his team. I applaud Jack Johnson and his team. I applaud the speaker and his team for all getting behind this idea. And we can all have our fights in the primary and fights over issues, and we should. That's
Amen.
what a healthy Republican Party looks like. But the fact that all of these grassroots leaders and all of these elected political leaders, and especially the Blackburns have been so helpful with Turning Point for 7-8 years now. Marsha would come out to our events back when they were a lot smaller. I have just seen from the Tea Party crazy wing, which I'm part of, which is why I can call them that, like the super grassroots, hardcore constitutional wing of the party, and then the more corporate-focused, moderate wing of the party, I have seen unilateral support for the idea of putting Club America chapters on every high school in Tennessee. And I applaud you all for that, because we should put down our swords for a second and say, what does it look like if Charlie's legacy in Tennessee is that we're deep red for 50 years because we have real high school infrastructure teaching conservative values to virtually every student in Tennessee? That is the future that we are building together.
Amen. It's important work. Josh Tifo, thanks again for stopping by. Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action Senior Director. It's 11:55. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They got a bunch of good deals going on for you right now, and it's the big ones. The 93 are free mainline clearing special. If you got a slower clogged mainline drain, Busy Bee's going to come out and they're going to offer to clean it out for you for $93. If they can't do it, it's going to be free to you. This is a November-only deal, and it's a smart way to keep things running smooth before you have people coming over for the holidays. While we're talking about helping people, Busy Bee is proud to be supporting the community with a coat drive happening this month. They're going to be collecting coats in Lebanon and in Mount Juliet. In Lebanon, it's on Tuesday, November 25th from 3 to 6 p.m., 7 Cedars Butcher Block on the Lebanon Square. In Mount Juliet, it's Sunday, November 30th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Mount Juliet Chamber of Commerce. So bring a gently used coat. Help people out. We appreciate you doing that. Also, if you got a go-to Thanksgiving recipe, send it to Busy Bee. That could win you $2,000 off a new HVAC system. The runner-up will get $1,000 off. It's a perfect reason to break grandmother's trust and send her secret recipe into Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. So don't wait if the main line is backed up. Grab the 93 or free main line opening special from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Give them a call today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833.